Hello and welcome to another edition of Daf Yomi from the Kohen Bavli Steinstouts. We're doing Chullin. I'm on Daf 17. And we're going to dive straight in. And if so, all the more so now in exile, when they should be even more distant from the temple, the meat of desire should be permitted. Consequently, it doesn't say for the mission to teach us halacha. Rather, Rav Yosef said, the Tana who teaches this halacha is Rabbi Akiva. I have taught it in a braita with regard to the verse, if the place that the Lord your God shall choose to put his name there be too far from you, then you shall slaughter of your herd and of your flock. Deuteronomy 12:21. Rabbi Akiva says, the verse comes only to prohibit for them to consumption of meat of an animal killed by means of stabbing. When the Jewish people in the wilderness, they were commanded to slaughter non-sacred animals. Rather, they would stab the animals and eat them, like all other nations. They were commanded in the wilderness that anyone who wishes to slaughter an animal may do so only when bringing the animal as a peace offering, but if he so desired, he could stab the non-sacred animal and eat it. When they entered Eretz Yisrael, it was prohibited to stab and eat animals. Instead, the Jewish people commanded to slaughter non-sacred animals outside the temple courtyard when they desire to eat meat. This ruling is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, which, according to the Rambam, Rabbi Shmuel agreed with as well. Rambam say for Kedusha, Shechita 4:17 to 18, see or Sameach. Rather than by the slaughter, as initially the stabbing of meat was permitted for them, when they entered into Eretz Yisrael, the meat of stabbing was forbidden to them, permitted to eat the meat of an animal only after the slaughter. Rav Yosef added, and now that Jewish people were exiled, one might have thought that stabbed animals were restored to their initial permitted state. Therefore, we learned in the Mishnah, one must always slaughter the animal to eat its meat. Excuse me. The Gemara asks, with regard to what principle, do they disagree? The Gemara answers that Rabbi Akiva holds the meat of desire was not forbidden at all. Rabbi Akiva sava basa tava lo isa kalal. The Rambam Sefer Kedusha Hilchot Shechita 4:17 has a unique opinion with regard to this matter that differs from the Gemara here to Yechot himself. On the one hand, the meat of desire was not permitted in the wilderness, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. But on the other hand, if one wished to eat non-sacred meat in the wilderness, one could stab and eat it, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. The commentator writes in explanation of his opinion. The explicit in the verse is that the prohibition of slaughter is designed to distance a person from idol worship. And for that reason, stabbing the animal is permitted, because they would not do so for idol worship or sameach. Alternatively, stabbing was permitted for non-sacred meat to underscore the difference between sacrificial and non-sacred meat, as the Jewish people were into the temple and the tabernacle and are accustomed to eat peace offerings in the Oneg Yom Tov Yoredeya 53. And Rabbi Shmuel holds the meat of stabbing was not permitted at all. So we have a difference here between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel. The Gemara asks a series of questions. Granted, according to Rabbi Shmuel, holds that the meat of stabbing was forbidden in the wilderness. That is the meaning of that which is written in regard to the burnt offering sacrifice in the tabernacle. And he shall slaughter the young bull. This is 1:5. But according to Rabbi Akiva, what is the meaning of and he shall slaughter? Why would he slaughter if stabbing is permitted? The Gemara answers, sacrificial animals are different, as slaughtering is required in that case. But by contrast, there was no obligation to slaughter non-sacrificial animals to eat their meat. Granted, according to Rabbi Shmuel, holds that the meat of stabbing was forbidden in the wilderness. That is the meaning of which is written, will a fox and herd be slaughtered for them, in Numbers 11:22, indicating that they slaughtered the animals in the wilderness. According to Rabbi Akiva, what is the meaning of will fox and herd be slaughtered for them? Only the word be stabbed for them should have been written. The Gemara answers, in the wilderness, the stabbing is a slaughter. Granted, according to Rabbi Shmuel, what is the meaning of that which is learned in the Mishnah 85a with regard to the mitzvah of covering the blood of an undomesticated animal or bird? One who slaughters an undomesticated animal and the slaughter is not valid, and it becomes an unslaughtered carcass by his hand. And one who stabs an animal and one who rips the simonim from their place before cutting them, invalidating the slaughter, is exempt from covering the blood. Pater milchasas. One who slaughters a kosher bird or kosher undomesticated animal feed your deer, must cover its blood with earth. See Leviticus 17:30 and recite the blessing before fulfilling this mitzvah. This mitzvah is because in detail in chapter 6. Ashes and other powdery substances must be used for this purpose. One must cover the blood of only an animal whose slaughter was valid. According to Rabbi Akiva, why is one exempt from covering the blood of an animal that was stabbed? In his opinion, when they were commanded to cover blood, animals that were stabbed were permitted. The Gemara answers, since the meat of stabbing was forbidden, it was forbidden. Another status of stabbing is no longer that of slaughtering. Granted, contrary to Kiwi, says that the meat of desire was not forbidden at all. This is the meaning of that which is written before they entered Eretz Yisrael. However, as the gazelle and the deer is eaten, so shall you eat. The pure and the impure may eat of it alike. Deuteronomy 22. This means that just as it is permitted to eat the meat of gazelle and a deer in the wilderness instead of its impurity, so may you eat them when you enter Eretz Yisrael. Although at that point it will be prohibited to stab them and eat their meat, as meat will be permitted only through slaughter. But according to Rabbi Shmuel, you hold that the meat of desire was forbidden in the wilderness, with the gazelle and the deer themselves permitted in the wilderness. They are not brought as offerings. The Gemara says, when the Mercer one rendered the meat of desire forbidden, that was specifically the meat of a domesticated animal that's fit for sacrifice. But the Mercer one did not render forbidden domesticated animals that are not fit for sacrifice. Rabbi Yirmiyah raises it according to the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, who said the meat of stabbing was permitted in the wilderness, with regard to the limbs of the meat of stabbing that the Jewish people took with them into Eretz Yisrael. What is the halacha stated? The Gemara asks, when? With regard to what period does Rabbi Yirmiyah raise his dilemma? If it is dilemma is with regard to 7 years during which they conquered the land, the length of the period of conquest is derived from the fact that Caleb, son of Yefuneh, was 85 years old at the conclusion of the conquest, and based on the calculations elsewhere, he was 78 years old when he entered the land. He entered 38 years after the Spice, at which point he was 40 years old. Joshua 14:7-10 from 118b. Now, non-kosher items are permitted for them. Hashadavar Tamei is Tarilahu. The Rambam derives a fundamental principle from here that whenever troops conquer a place during a war, if there is no kosher food available, it is permitted for the soldiers to eat forbidden food. Rambam's commentary on the Torah in Deuteronomy 6:10 disagrees. In his opinion, this was a special gift given to the Jewish people when they entered the land to benefit from the spoils of their enemies, and it was not designed as a blanket permit for soldiers. During the period that the Jewish land shall be when the Lord your God shall bring you into the land that he swore to your fathers, and houses full of all good things, you shall eat and be satisfied. Deuteronomy 6:10-11. Rabbi Yirmiyah Rav says, cuts of pig meat, kotlei the chazire, when the combat troops invade the country, conquer it, and take its residents captive, it's permitted for the soldiers to eat unslaughtered animal carcasses, to eat food and pig meat, and to drink wine poured as a libation to idolatry if there is no kosher food. What is the opinion of the Yirmiyah of Abba? In the name of Rambam Sefer Shulk to Hilchos Menachem 8:1. The word kotlei means nape, as in the Akkadian kutalu, meaning hind part of the body. It has a similar meaning in Syria. In the very reading kotlei, which is related to translation of the Hebrew word of kada. Essentially, some psychoanalysts explain the term kotel similar to the Arabic kuta, and in this context it refers to pieces of fatty pig meat prepared with flour and semolina that they found in the houses of Mitzvah. It is necessary to say that the meat from the starving kosher animal is permitted, but Rabbi Yirmiyah's dilemma is with regard to the period thereafter. And if you were saying so, actually his dilemma is with regard to the 7 years in which they conquered the land, as perhaps when the forbidden food was permitted before them, especially food from the spoils of Gentiles, but their own forbidden food was not permitted. The Gemara concludes that the dilemma shall stand unresolved. Teiku. Various explanations have been offered for the etymology of this term. Some explain that it is the abbreviated form of teikum, meaning let it stand. Alternatively, its source is the word tik, meaning case or pouch. Just as the contents of a pouch is unknown, so too the resolution of the dilemma is unknown. Although not the literal meaning, some suggest that the term alludes to an acrostic tishbi, utaretz, kushiot, urayot, meaning the Tishbite, Elijah the prophet, will resolve questions and dilemmas with Yom Tov. This question refers to the tradition that when Elijah returns to proclaim the coming of the Messiah, he will also resolve outstanding halachic difficult dilemmas. Rabbi says, you explain the phrases in the Mishnah, all slaughter, and one may always slaughter. In what way do you explain the phrase, one may slaughter with any item that cuts? And if you would say that it means whether with a flint, or whether glass shards, or with a stalk of a reed, but isn't this phrase taught in a manner similar to those other phrases in the Mishnah? If these phrases are all slaughter and one may always slaughter, are referring to those that slaughter, in phase 2 this phrase too is referring to those that are slaughtered. The first two phrases of the Mishnah were explained as referring to the animals that are slaughtered. The first phrase was interpreted to include birds, and the second phrase was interpreted to refer to the halacha that meat may be eaten only to slaughter of the animal. The Rabbi said the entire Mishnah is referring to those that slaughter. This phrase means that everyone hakol slaughters. Although it is an identical phrase used in the first mission to a both are necessary. One to include a Samaritan and one to include a Jewish transgressor. The second phrase, one may always slaughter, means both during the day and at night, both on the rooftop and atop a ship, and there is no concern that it will appear that he is slaughtering in an indulgent manner to the host of heaven or to the god of the sea. The phrase one may slaughter with any item that cuts means whether with a flint, with glass shards, or the stalk of a reed. The Mishnah states, except for the serrated side of the harvest sickle and the saw, Shmuel's father, Abu de Shmuel, this is the prominent says Abba Ba'Abba, typically identified as the father of Shmuel after his son, the prominent Amora. Abba Ba'Abba, who travelled extensively in Croatia as a silk merchant, spent time in Israel and developed close ties with Rabbi Yehuda and his sons, would notch a knife and send it to Israel to ask if it's fit for slaughter, and he would notch a knife in a different manner and send it to Israel in order to determine the type of notch that invalidates slaughter. They sent to him from Israel the principle is we learned that the notch that invalidates slaughter is like a saw. The teeth point upward and it rips it upon him with every draw of the knife back and forth. The sage is taught in a brighter. The stages of a knife in which there are several notches. Shakin shayesh bar pagiyas harbe. If one slaughters with a knife with multiple notches, the slaughter is not valid even after the fact, even if they're all notches that entangle. This ruling is according to the Baita as explained by Rashi, Shulchan Aruch 18:5. It's considered like that of a saw. With regard to a knife in which there is only one notch, capture the slaughter is unfit, but if it entangles, this word appears in the Bible in the sense of inciting entanglement, confusion, or struggle. And I will spur Egypt against Egypt. In Isaiah 19:2, he employed the term to describe a fire that seeks to consume an object, but the object does not catch fire. He says, the fire is struggling with the object. Here the meaning is similar, and the reference is to an object. And Calzar is repeated deficiency. A knife with a notch that entangles is therefore a knife of which items that pass encounter an impediment. What are the circumstances that are not of a knot that catches, and what are the circumstances of a knot that entangles? Rabbi Eliezer said, a notch that catches is one that has a sharp edge on two sides, while a notch that entangles is one that has a sharp edge on one side. According to Rashi and most early commentators, there is no difference in the shape of a notch that entangles and that of a notch that catches, as they are both vertical. The notch that catches has two sharp edges, and is called such because it impedes passage of the flesh or fingernail. But according to the notch that entails, there's only one sharp edge, and the other edge is smooth with a sharpener. It is called a notch that entangles because it entangles the knife and hinders the cutting. The brighter that states of the halachic state of a knife with multiple notches that of a saw applies even with regard to notches that entangle. The reason is that although a single notch that can validate slaughter, it will notches create a situation equivalent to that of a notch that catches. Whereas one notch rips the hide and the next notch rips the samana. And the early commentaries explain that the edge of the notch that entangles is slanted in one direction, e.g. toward the handle of the knife, and in that case it cuts the hide and samana only. Sorry. When it was a knife forward and switched properly. According to the explanation, of the of a knife with multiple notches is that let of saw due to concern as he brings the knife back and rips the man and knife and run based on the rift and maybe set in Tosfot. The Gemara tried this explanation. What is different about a notch with a sharp edge on two sides, where the first edge, Moresha, compromises the neck by removing the hide and the flesh, and the latter edge rips the samana. In the case of a notch with a sharp edge on one side, the sharp tip of the knife compromises the neck and the edge of the notch rips the samana. The Gemara explains, the reference is to a notch that stands at the top of the knife, which begins the slaughter. It compromises the neck, and when it comes back in the other direction, it rips the samana. Explains the reference is to a case where he drew the knife backward, but did not draw it forward. The phrase a notch that catches the slaughter is not valid, and a notch that entangles the slaughter is valid, means that in contrast to a notch that catches, where the slaughter is never valid, a notch that entangles is sometimes valid, said the Rashi. According to Rashi, slaughter is valid when a notch that entangles when the notch entangles if only two conditions are fulfilled. There was only one notch on the knife, and drew the knife backward and did not draw it forward. According to the commentary cited in the previous note, that explains that a notch that entangles is one that leans in one direction. If he draws the knife backward but does not draw it forward. In that case, the sharpness does not rip the flesh. In that case, the notch needed to be located specifically at the top of the knife. It seems to be the opinion of the Rif, which does not mention the requirement of the notch being located at the top of the knife. It is difficult. I should have said, rather where he drew the knife backward and not drew it forward, and the Gemara rejected the previous understanding of the Rashba. According to them, that is indeed the variant of reading of the Gemara. The man writes, though, that the Gemara is not rejecting the previous answer that the notch is at the top of the knife, rather that answer teaches that when slaughter is invalid, when there is only one sharp edge, or only one samana with combined with the edge of the knife. This is an additional answer and see what's the Tosfot. Rabbi says there are three types of notches in a knife. If the notch catches, one may not slaughter with it, and if he slaughtered, his slaughter is not valid. If one slaughtered with a knife that is then examined after the slaughter and found to be notched, the slaughter is not valid provided that it is a notch that catches. It catches on only one strand of hair, in accordance with the brighter and the custom of Ahava Yaakov. What am I saying? Because He took a look here down. 18.2. If the notch entangles, one may not slaughter without permission, and if he slaughtered with it, his slaughter is valid after the fact. If the notch rises and falls, Oliver Yoed, one may slaughter ammunition with a knife that is not straight, but rises and falls like a snake, by that it is not notched, according to the opinion of Rava. That's a commentary that even if the knife rises and falls several times, today one slaughtered with a knife of that kind only in circumstances. 117, this is a case where there is a large notch that was smooth to the Rama explains that the knife appears like a snake. It has more than one depression in the knife. Rabbeinu Gershom Hagola explains that the knife is not uniformly sharp. If the notch entangles, one may not slaughter with ammunition. If we slaughter with it, but if it rises and falls, one may slaughter ammunition with a knife that is not straight but rises and falls like a snake, where that is not notched. Even if the knife rises and falls several times, the slaughter is valid. Today one slaughtered with a knife from that kind only circumstances. One may say for Kedusha. The son of Nehemiah said to Rabashi, "You said to us in the name of Rav that if the notch entangles, the slaughter is not valid. But doesn't Rav say, if the notch entangles, the slaughter is valid? A knife with the notch entangles is one that is examined by being drawn back and forth. When it is drawn in one direction, no notch is felt, and when it is drawn in the other direction, a notch is felt. If one slaughtered with that knife and drew it in the direction where the notch is not felt, the slaughter is valid. If you in the other direction, the slaughter is not valid. Otherwise, there are those who will stringently that slaughter. Using the knife also from where he began the act of slaughter, and the explained to Rashi, because it is not clear when the notch is to be near the end of the knife, or to where the knife Ramam Sefer Kedusha Chashachita 115 Jafar 18.4. Rashi answers, it's not difficult. Here, where Rabbi said that the slaughter is not valid, is in a case where he drew a knife back and forth. There, where Rabbi says that the slaughter is valid, it is in a case where he drew the knife backward and did not draw it forward. Rab Aha, son of Rabbi Avia, said to Rabashi, if the knife was similar to an awn of grain, a sasa. What's a sasa? This refers to awns, the hair-like top of grain stalks, which were not smooth but have small spikes. Conceivably it is from the Italian sassata, meaning grass. One may slaughter with a knife that was wetted but is not smooth, and its surface is like the top of a stalk of grain that crumbles in the fingers. Opinion of Rashi. My right says in Agor, the country is not to slaughter with such a knife, the deeds of Halacha are not clear. Sefer Kedusha Chachakita 1816 comment of Omar, which is not perfectly good but does not have actual notches. Why? Rashi said to him, who will give us from the meat of the animal slaughtered with that knife, and we will eat it. Rav Hissa says, from where it derives that the examination of a knife is an obligation by Torah law. B'dika Sakin, one is obligated to examine the knife before slaughtering as the presumptive state of a knife that it has not been examined. The concern is that one will neglect to do so after the slaughter, in which case the result will be as though he were eating an unslaughtered carcass. If he did not examine the knife, he may not slaughter with it. When neglected to examine the knife before slaughter and examined it after slaughter, for instance, the slaughter is valid. The later slaughter is the great they've been examined as neither. Derived from a verse as a statement of God's soul to the people, and slaughtered this and eat. 1 Samuel 14:34. Okay, that Saul gave them knife only after ensuring that it was fit to slaughter the animal. The Gemara asks, isn't it obvious that the knife must be examined before slaughter? Since we want to create a perforation in the gullet, the animal will be a treifa. Therefore, the knife requires examination to prevent the situation. The Gemara answers, we are saying that a source for the halacha that one must show the knife to a source for examination is needed. Gemara is an obligation by Torah, but doesn't Rabbi Yochanan say that the sages said to show a knife to a Torah scholar, which is a requirement to defer to the Torah scholar? The Gemara answers, yes, indeed, it is a requirement by rabbinic law, and the verse cites as mere support for that practice, not as a source. Achmachta ba'alma, mere support. Sometimes the sage in the Talmud explicitly states that a verse cited as a basis for halacha is made an allusion to that halacha rather than its actual source. In those cases, the verse is characterized as mere support for the halacha. Since those halacha are not actually derived from the biblical text, we serve instead as a monomic. They do not have the soul to say to law and the Gemara notes in the West Eritrea they examine the knife in the sun. Simsha. Rashi offers one explanation that one examines the blade in the sunlight. He then cites an explanation that one holds the knife opposite the sun and examines the shadow that the customer on a wall. The shadow is larger than the knife and therefore a notch would be more conspicuous. So when there was notch in Nahadia, the city on the Euphrates near the Malka River. Nahadia was one of the old Jewish communities of Babylonian tradition. Jews lived in Nahadia as early as the 6th century BC, at the end of the first temple ever. Beginning with the exile of King Joachim of Judea, Nahadia was one of the most significant Jewish communities in Babylonia. It was a center of Torah study from an early period, and its yeshiva was the oldest in Babylonia. Many of the great Tanaim visited Nahadia. Among them were Akiva, who indicated the calendar as the year Bomot. To be during Rav's lifetime, the first half of the century in CE, Nahadia's yeshiva was headed by Rabbi Shina and Rabbi Shmuel. Since it was located near the border between the Roman and Persian empires, being victimized by wars between the two, Papa ben Nazir Nathus, king of Tadmor, destroyed it completely in 259 CE. Jews resettled there. Many Torah scholars remained in Nahadia even after the yeshiva moved to Mahoza after the Medita. And the knife of water, Maya. In addition to the explanation that involves placing the blade on the surface of the water, Rashi cites another explanation. When hold the knife at a downward slant, the water to drip down toward the tip. If there is a notch, the droplet does not reach the tip. They would place the blade on the surface of the water. If there was a notch, it would noticeably alter the surface of the water. Rashi would examine it with hair. Yaakov would examine the strand of hair. He would pass the strand over the blade of the knife, and if there was a notch, it would be caught in that notch. From Suah, so a town in southern Babylonia. Suah did not. I might have to finish here. I need to finish, so I didn't quite finish the daf here. Wish you a very good day and a very good Shabbos, and take care. All the best. Bye.